All right, this is going to be the learning target number 2 video for chapter 13. Um, the target is I can display and analyze data using a dot plot. Now, this is going to be pretty easy because you guys have been doing these all year long. So we've had these on review sheets so much. You've seen them. I know you're probably looking at them, and I know you remember them because we've done them over and over and over. And usually we find the mean, the median, the mode, the range, and different things of that nature from these dot plots. Maybe if you've ever seen them with X's, um, that's another way to display it. Usually they're made as with dots now, but they have been. You may have noticed that they could have X's. We might have had an X one earlier, I guess is all I'm trying to say. So dot plots are just, again, another way to organize. Okay? If I give you, and if you remember from LT1, this I called the raw data. Okay, that's just a bunch of numbers listed out. That doesn't help us anything. I don't know what to do with that. I can't answer many questions from that. But if I get a little display here, that can give me a little bit more information. So it says the number of text messages sent by some students one day is as follows. Okay, represent the data on a dot plot. Okay, so you can see these are obviously the number of text message spanned from 10 to 15 messages. So this was in one day. So I mean, you guys probably send 10 to 15 messages in 10 seconds probably. So this is a little outdated evidently. But you had to just make a dot plot. Now it's already done for you, but you can see what they did. Whenever you're about to make a dot plot, step 1, you guys can write this. Find minimum and maximum. Okay, that's the first thing you have to do whenever you're given a dot plot like this, because the first thing you're going to have to do is you got to have a starting spot. So I go up there and I see that's my minimum right there. I find my maximum right there, and it kind of told me right there also. But regardless, I found the minimum and the maximum. Remember, the minimum is the smallest number, maximum is the biggest number. And now I know where to start my dot plot. So you can see they started right here at 10. Okay? And then they knew they had to, you can't just go like this, remember. This is a no-no. You can't do like 10, like for instance, like 11, 12, 13, and let's say, because there is no 14s up there, they just skip 15. Can you do that? No, you can't skip it. Remember, that's called the interval, and the interval always has to be the same on a number line. Remember, that's just a number line, like we've been doing all year long, whether it's horizontal, vertical number lines, doesn't matter. This goes all the way back to chapter 2 when we were doing, if you'll remember these questions, when it was like 0 degrees sea level, remember that? And up here you had a helicopter, down here you had a fish. Just number lines, that's all this is. It's just organized in a little different way, and you're talking about a little different items. You're not talking about putting dots on the number line specifically, but above them. Okay? A couple things about the dot plot that are pretty important. First of all, neatness is very, very important. I'm going to zoom in on this so we can see it. Neatness is very, very important. Like some of you, if you were to ask to do this, you would be like, put 3 there, and then put like 3 there, and then put like 1 way up there, and then put like your 2 like that. Okay, that dot plot's not going to work. The whole point of the dot plot is so that you can keep all of them on the same, what's called the same, I guess if you want to say like the same line. So for instance, see that right there? See how that first row there is all on the same line? Second row, they're all on the same line. Third row. So that we don't have to sit there and count and worry about how many there are. It's more about just looking at the shape of it and saying, oh, well, I can see that right here is probably about the middle, right? About 11 and 12 somewhere. That's about how many text messages are being sent. We had a couple of people with 15, but for the most part, 11 and 12 is where it's happening. And it's all about that shape. Okay, it's all about this shape that's going on. Okay? We'll go down to the next one here. The data value 10 appears once, so obviously there's only one dot there. I guess I kind of skipped over how they got these numbers, but since we've done them all year, I thought you guys know it. Only 10 shows up one time, so they put 1 dot. Okay, 11 shows up 1, 2, 3 times, so as you can see, 1, 2, 3 dots. 12 shows up 3, so 1, 2, 3. And again, all about the neatness of it. It has to be very neat. Okay. It says here, I'd like you guys to underline this. This is important because I already said it. The data value 14 is absent. So there is no dot. That doesn't mean we just omit it. We get rid of it. It doesn't mean we can just leave it off our number line, because number lines have to go up by the same amount every time, but we just don't put a dot there. Nobody sent 14 text messages. Okay? All right. Let's go down here. Eugenia, I think that's how you would say that name. Eugenia tossed a number cube. Okay? Now we know a cube from chapter 13 is a three-dimensional figure where all the sides are the same length. So if they were all 2 inches by 2 inches, and then this would be by 2 inches, okay, or 3 inches. The inches doesn't matter. I'm just telling you that's what a cube is. She tossed this cube, and it was numbered 1 through 6. By the way, a numbered cube, we usually call this a die. I think that's how you spell that. Dice is how we would usually say it, but that's multiple dice. If we're talking about one die, I think that's how you spell it. I'm not sure. She recorded the number in the table below to represent it in a dot plot. So you can see she rolled this 20 times. So if you counted how many rolls there are here, it would equal 20 right here. Okay? So she rolled the number 1 twice. She rolled a 2 3 times. She rolled a 3 6 times. She rolled a 4 1 time. She rolled a 5 5 times, and she rolled a 6 3 times. Now, I hope we don't teach probability here in 6th grade, but in 7th grade you're going to get into probability, and I think you did it in 5th grade. Shouldn't all these be exactly even, really? I mean, there's no, like, remember, this is just a die. Okay? So it's not like this is just the way it worked out. Okay? So we're not really talking about probability or anything here. This is just the way hers did. It came up 3 6 times, it came up 5 5 times. So over half, 11 rolls, she either got a 3 or a 5. But that's just the way it went. So again, she went through here. She took her, this could be also written as a tally table like we did on the previous one, right? If we wanted to, I guess. Oh, actually, I'm putting those in the wrong spots. They should be there should be another row, and then our frequency would be like 2, 3, 6, something like that. Don't have to, just showing you could be. You can see that she rolled a 1 2 times, she rolled a 2 3 times, 3 6 times, a 4 1 time, 5 5 times, and 6 3 times. So that's why she put the dots. Once again, just to show you this, to make sure you're seeing it, notice how level these are. See how they're all level with one another? Everything's level. It's building on itself. It's not a mess. I messed up that one a little bit, but we want it to be level. So the 5th one is a certain height. The 6th dot up is the certain height. A 7th, an 8th, whatever. Okay, so you just keep that in mind when you're doing it. So there you go. Now we can look and we can say right there, bang. That would be that one was rolled the majority of the time, or maybe you say, oh well, look, 3 and 6, they were rolled an awful lot. Over half the rolls, it was either a 3 or a 5. All right, here we go. A little bit of practice we can do together now. Okay, a group of 15 students was asked how many times they have traveled on a plane. The results are recorded in the table. Okay, so for all the people that have never been on a plane, there was 1 student. For the people that have been on 1 plane trip, there were 5 students. There were 3 students that have been on 2 plane trips. 1 student that's been on 3, 1 that's been on 4 plane trips, 3 students that have been on 5 trips, and then there was 1 student that had been on 6 trips. Okay, you have to make a dot plot. Now, I didn't give you very much space here, which wasn't cool, I don't believe. But we can do it kind of maybe up here a little bit. Now, do your best to make it nice and even. So this one will be number 1. Okay, this will be number 1. And again, you always want to put your arrows at the end of your number line, because that's showing that it's a number line and it'll go on forever and always. Okay? Okay, what did I tell you the first thing we should always identify is? The smallest and the largest number. Okay, so we're going to do that. So that's going to be 0. Ooh, I need to fix that. Let me extend that out a little bit. There we go. Okay, now we're going to go ahead and we're going to do 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then 6. Kind of left too much space, but that's all right. Now let's be real neat in our dot placement here. Real neat. It's very important to be neat. Okay, so there was 1 person that had been on a plane, never been on a plane. There were 5 students that had been on one trip, so we're going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I tried to keep them spaced the same amount. Okay, we're done with that one. There have been 3 students that have been on 2 trips, so 1, 2, 3. Notice how my third one should be about. I'm a little bit off there, but I'm you know, it's close. Your third one should be the same height in both of those. Okay, we're done there. Now there is 1 student that had been on 3 flights, so again, that one needs to line up with my ones there. There was 1 student that had been on 4 flights, so that one will be lined up there. There have been 3 students on 5 flights, so 1, 2, 3, and then I'll just do my little check here just to see how close I am. It's close, so I got the third highest one about level on both of those, right? Alrighty, and then for 6, there was only 1 student. There we go. And then we should always name our plot here, our dot plot, and in this case, maybe we just name it plane trips. I think that's a good name. You always need to give names to everything in this chapter. Histograms, dot plots, everything. You need to give it names always. That could be written below down here or above. Either way, I'm fine with it. Okay. This next one down here says that the results of the high jumps at a track meet are recorded in the table. Okay, so for this one, and you're just gonna have to find some space. Maybe down at the bottom there's some space or whatever. I'm gonna do mine on this little line right here because it's here. Kind of convenient. If you can use it. Okay. The high jump results are going from 150 centimeters to 155 centimeters. So that's our minimum and our maximum. So I'm going to do that. So 150, 151, 152, 153, 154, and 155. There we go. And that is going to be our that's going to be how high they jumped. And then we can go through. There was 1 student that jumped that height. So there we go. Got that one taken care of. There were 4 students that jumped that height. 2, 3, 4. Done with that. There were 3 players, I should say players, that jumped that height. So 1, 2, 3. Notice how my third one is about the same height. 153, there was only 1 person. 154, there was 0, so we leave it blank. And then for 155, there were 2 people. And notice how I got my second one. See how number 2 dot there is lined up with the other number 2s? And then there we go. And then we should give our thing a title always. Okay? So once again, the good news is, even if I wouldn't have put this on review sheets all year, you might be like, what the heck's going on here? Okay? We need to understand that you guys have been doing all year, so it's really not that difficult. As far as symmetrical and skewed, you guys pretty much know what symmetrical is. Skewed is a new word for you probably, but symmetrical would be like a circle is symmetrical. It means that side is the same as that side. So when you look at this one here, see how most of the data is kind of near the center of the range. So we know the range here is 7 minus 1, which is 6. So the center of that would be right around 3 or 4 or 5, and you can see the majority of the data is right there in those 2 spots. So that would be, and you're going to learn more about this when you go to high school, but there's more to that, but that would be what's called a symmetrical dot plot. This one here would be, you can see the dot has a tail on the left. See how everything's here and it kind of has a tail going that way? Okay, that would be a left skewed because the tail is going to the left. So right there, left skewed. And I know that's a new word. Skewed just means the data's not in the center or the middle. Okay, it's the majority of it's to one side or the other. Okay, if that makes sense. So like going up to here, I think I already erased it. I did. Shoot. Well, regardless. But you can see this one here would be right skewed because the data is on the left, and then the tail would be going to the right. So just skewed just means most of the data is to one side or the other. It's not all in the middle or anything like that, like this one is. All right, so it says the money in dollars that 15 students earned by babysitting in 1 week is shown in the dot plot on the right. Briefly describe the distribution of the earnings of the students. First of all, as you can see, these are the earnings, so $17, $18, $19, so on. There were 2 people that made $17. There was 1 person that made $18. There were 3 people that made $19, and so on. A plot can be described by its shape and its range. Now, we already know that range, write this please, is our maximum minus our minimum. It's going to come up in a later learning target, but you guys have already learned it all year long. It's the biggest minus the smallest. So the range here would be 24 minus 17, which would give us 7. That's our range. It says this dot plot is nearly symmetrical. So again, it might not look exactly like the one above, which was like perfectly like this was the tip and it went straight down from there, straight down from there. It might not look like that, but in general, you want to make a general statement about the shape of it. Okay, and in this case, I'm seeing the middle of it, about right in there, that area would be about the middle. I'm seeing the majority of the data right in the middle, and then I'm seeing it kind of taper off going that way, taper off going that way. So that would be a symmetrical shape there. These data values show, I guess I should have included 19 to 21 there. I guess all of those. I mean, that's 19 to 21 is pretty much real close to the middle of 17 and 24. So if most of your points are in the center, then that's where, then you know it's going to be symmetrical. Okay, and then all that work is there. All right, let's go down here. Now this one, let's look at this one here. This is the number of movies that have been seen, and we're going to go on to B, by the way. I know that. Don't worry about that. The number of movies that 12 students saw last month is shown in the dot plot. So there was 1 person watched 3 movies, 4 people watched 4, 3 kids watched 5 movies, 2 watched 6, 1 watched 7, and 1 watched 8. Again, there's your range right there. So the range is 5. So that means, you know, the majority of the data is right there. Okay, but as you can see, realistically, they didn't even have to put these 2 on here. So if it would have just looked like this, let me redraw this so it look a little bit different. They didn't have to start at 1 and 2. Since there were no points, they could have just started at 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. Now you'd be looking at 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 1, 1. Whoops, I'm 1 off. Whoops. Sorry. I was looking at the wrong one. There was 1 on 3, 1, 2, 3, 4 on 4, 1, 2, 3 on 5, 1, 2 on 6, and then 1, 1. Now you can see that this thing would have, it would be tailed to the right. So this would be a right skewed. That's the way you would name that. Okay, so it's not right in the middle like it was in the one above, where, if that were the case, it would be right around, the majority of it would be right around 5 and 6, right in there, but it's not. Okay, so again, there's your dot plot. Now, from the dot plot, we'll get into this as we go farther into this chapter. From this, we're going to be able to start making specific observations about it. We're going to be able to find the mean from it. We're going to be able to find the median from it. We're going to be able to find the mode. We just did the range. Okay, so that'll change it up a little bit when we get to that other stuff there. Let's go to the next page. We're going to go ahead and just stop there. I think we pretty much hit it all. It's kind of general and kind of easy, I feel like. So we're going to stop there.